Hey guys, what's going on? This is Ed from vinylalbumcovers.com. And with me as always is Dre. Say less. Okay. Welcome to the welcome to the front, guys. So, all right. Obviously, we have to do it right. I mean, you would do it. If you were in our position, you would do the same thing. So I would really appreciate no judgment, please and thank you. But we got to talk about Verzuz. We just have to.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't believe what I saw. But you won't hear from me first. You're going to hear from Dre first. So it started at 6 o'clock and it ended at 6 o'clock the next day. No, I'm kidding. It didn't.
Ended at 6:01.
6:01 the next day.
Yeah.
No, it went on for what, 4.5 hours, I think.
I watched about an hour. I skipped through some of it, but I watched about an hour of it, and I caught some of the good parts of it, man. And here's what.
Hold on here. Let's
right.
get linear here. So I have like this whole plan to try to like kind of keep us under control because we can talk.
Yes, we can.
We're going to, but I mean, I'm just gonna like try to make some order out of the chaos that's gonna generate whether I try to do it or not.
Yeah.
So okay. So I'll be frank. So Dre, you said you watched like an hour of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not big on cursing, so I couldn't watch the whole thing either. I was kind of in and out on the opening act for sure. And I was more in than out on Mario and Omarion, mostly because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But later for that, let's hold off on that. Let's get to the first thing. Let's talk first about the opening act. Now, the opening act and I'm mentioning these artists in no particular order. It began with Pleasure P, Bobby V, Ray J, and Sammy. So what did you think about the opening act, or what of it that you saw?
Most of basically everybody that was there were kind of going back to my high school days and my early college days, basically, Bobby V or Bobby Valentino, whatever he's calling himself now. Ray J, I told you that story. So I wasn't big on that, obviously. But yeah, it's what you would expect from that group of artists. I wasn't impressed. But yeah, so it was good to see. It was good to see Jeremiah back and healthy. Because I know he was having his issues with.
Well, but that's later. He's later.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, but
we're gonna get to Jeremiah because the things. Go ahead.
Yeah, but no, yeah, like seeing all those guys on as opening acts kind of took me back to being in high school, or being freshman, sophomore in college. But there was really not much to talk about. I wasn't really impressed or anything. There was really nothing to take away from it. It's kind of what you would expect. I've never seen none of those guys in concert, so that's probably the closest I'm ever going to see those guys in concert, and it's about what I would think that it would sound like if I was there in person.
You didn't have to be mean about it. First of all, you didn't have to tell me how old you were when you saw them, because I didn't need that. I'm a little older and I didn't need that kind of abuse. We're supposed to be talking about other people, not about me in my old age. Okay, so back off. No, I'm kidding, maybe. No, from my perspective, okay, if it weren't for all the cursing, it would have been more enjoyable. Yes, I know I sound like an old man, but I am. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. As far as the singing is concerned, I was most impressed with Sammy, and I'm just judging vocally. Like I'm just gonna stay there. We'll stay away from the rest of it. In terms of like actual singing, I did not expect to be as impressed with Sammy as I was.
You know what? I remember Sammy when I think he was like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And he was singing songs that he probably had no business singing. I remember one time I sent you a link when he was called Little Sammy. Mm-hmm. And he was singing a song about, I'm going to spend every dollar I got on you. And one day I'm going to put a ring on your finger. And I'm like, man, you're like 13. Like this isn't really that song should have been written for somebody that was at least 20, 21. So, but yeah, I always thought he was decent. And you're right. He was probably the best of the bunch. I've never been like a big Sammy fan or anything like that, but I do remember him from back in the day when I was still in high school, seeing him, and he was like super young, super young. He's not so much relevant anymore, so I had no idea what he sounded like. I think the last I heard, yeah, I think that last I heard from him, he was doing a song with Eric Bellinger. That was back in like 2015. It didn't really make any headway or anything like that, but that was the last I remember seeing of him or catching a clip of him on YouTube. But yeah, he wasn't bad. But like I said before, Ray J, the dude can't. Yeah, he can't sing. Pleasure B. He has a couple songs that I've always liked, but I never really thought he was that good of a singer either. I did like Under. That was that was
the Marcus Cooper album.
Yeah, that was good. But other than that though, like I said, I wasn't impressed with any of it.
I have to be honest too. Like I think of the singers that I saw, like I said, I think Sammy was probably the best. And Sammy just doesn't blow notes, even in spite of all of that, in spite of the fact that everybody seemed slightly pharmaceutically enhanced. He still didn't blow notes like ever.
Yeah.
He didn't blow a note at all. Honestly, Bobby V didn't either. I think he's honestly, as a singer, I think he's pretty underrated. He has a really nice tenor. It doesn't have a tremendous amount of strength, but his phrase is good. His intonation is good. Like he's a legitimately good singer. Like I always loved Anonymous. That's one of my favorite songs of that period. Get him in a room with Timbaland in the Clutch, and you just can't miss. I don't know why that song wasn't a hit, because it should have been. I'm like, surely this is gonna blow up, and it didn't, and I have no idea why.
I liked a lot of his stuff with Tim and Bob too. I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah, Slow Down was him.
Yeah, on his very first album, I thought he had a lot of good cuts on that. But yeah, I always thought he was pretty solid. But and going back to Mister, he was really good. Blackberry Molasses, really good.
He did
really good. Yeah, really good. And it's funny because when I first heard Bobby Valentino, I had no idea that was him. I remember hearing that song back when I was like 11 or 12, and then hearing him, like almost a decade later. Oh, my bad. But almost a decade later, hearing him, and I was like, oh man, that's really him. Like somebody had pointed that out to me, and I was like, where did he go all this time? Like he just kind of disappeared, and he just came back with Def Jam South, and he just appeared again, and he was just like going platinum. Pretty big comeback when you think about it.
Yeah, because he got hooked up with Ludacris and Disturbing the Peace.
Yeah, because you don't see artists get a second chance like that when they wash out the first time. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, that's true. And he came back like so much more. Like it seemed he was more musically focused, and his voice was better.
Yeah.
Like because there's always that point with male singers and with female ones too, but there's always that point where you go from teenager to 20, 30 something, and you do get better.
Unless you're Chris Brown and you just sound the same forever.
Unless you're Chris Brown and you just don't improve, because wasn't all that to begin with. But that's a whole other thing. But he wasn't on Verzuz. No, but you're right. I agree with you. But and as far as like as far as Sammy was concerned, he was basically just following the same template that Usher was. Because you remember Usher's first record was full of songs he should not have been singing.
Yeah, I remember I saw a documentary on him. He flew out to go see Puff Daddy, hung out with him, and then kind of gave him like I guess tried to like tailor his image, and then he got in the studio and they had him singing stuff that just wasn't really. It was too ahead of him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but Sammy was kind of very much following that template because he hooked up with Dallas Austin and DARP, and that's how that first record happened, and then nothing for a long time. And then he had another single that did really well on R&B anyway, and then he vanished again. And seeing him on this particular evening, I'm like, dag, like what could have been? Because he still has his voice very much.
Yeah.
So I think of all of the singers, I would love hearing more from him.
Yeah.
Like I would be okay with that. That I would be just fine with that. The only one I don't need to hear from anymore is Ray J. Personality notwithstanding, he just doesn't have it. It just isn't there. I mean, it's almost sad when you think about it, because he has, I was thinking about this earlier before we did this record. He has the misfortune of being related to one of the finest female R&B singers in the last 30 years.
Right.
And she's another one that was like, she was pretty good on her first record.
Yeah, really good.
Better still on the second record.
Mm-hmm.
By the time she hit Aphrodisiac,
That's her fourth album.
Her voice, her voice, even on Full Moon, she was really good, but her voice, that voice needed to get deeper, that voice type.
Yeah.
Because it was pretty shrill on the first record, less so on the second, but still when she did, I remember when she did like One Voice, like that song needed a fuller voice, and she didn't have it really. And so she was really, really hard to rise above the choir that she was singing over. She couldn't quite do it.
Yeah.
It wasn't totally believable. But if she were given that song now, she would destroy it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because her voice there's a depth to her voice that is very attractive.
Yeah.
There's a darkness that didn't exist before to it, and it's far stronger.
Yeah.
And her intonation is better. Her phrasing is better. Like she just continues to age like fine wine. She just keeps getting better. And this is who Ray J is related to.
Mm-hmm.
What's really interesting, and I guess this may just be the difference between men and women singers, is that he hasn't gotten any better. His voice has deepened, but his phrasing is no better.
Yeah,
his range is no better. Like nothing is better.
You know what it is too? So I remember the first time I heard him sing, it was on the Dr. Dolittle soundtrack. That's Why I Lie. And
that was the first time you heard him?
I think so. Yeah, that was back in like 99 or something, like 98, 99.
You hear Everything You Want?
I remember hearing that, but I don't recall hearing it at the time.
Okay.
But I do remember that. That's Why I Lie, because that was getting some radio play. And
okay.
You know, I thought I liked the beat and everything. You know, his voice was, whatever.
Keith Crouch, wasn't it? I think.
What's that?
Was Keith Crouch working with him at that point?
I think so. Yeah. But I just remember That's Why I Lie, and I was like, okay, I like the beat and the melody and everything. And then he did Wait a Minute, and it was just like,
See, that was very try hard.
Yeah, it was very bad.
You know?
Yeah. And that's around the time my cousin interviewed him. That was around that time. I told you the whole spiel. But then 2005, he comes up with One Wish. Love the melody, everything.
That was Dark Child.
Yeah, and then
Dark
you hear
Child could not miss at that point.
But then it's like you hear him sing, and it's just like he totally wasted this beat on Ray J. Because his voice was just so bad. That's my matter of fact, I say I love you first. I'm just like it's like he didn't have the strength. It was like he was like a patient, like in the hospital, trying to muster up a voice to speak. And it's like, dude, like belch the lyrics out, get them out. Like he's just his voice was just so weak and just so light. Like I don't know how to describe it, but I don't know.
It was a bit too weepy. I think that's probably what you didn't like it should be to some degree if you're going to tell me that story. And it's a really well-written song.
Yeah.
Like he should have, it was just a bit over the top in terms of like the weepy aspects of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it was a little over the top, and it wasn't like, this is, you are still a man. Like you can give me a little strength.
Right.
And I remember kind of thinking that, you know, the song is great, but of all of the parts, his was the least.
Yeah, because like
the least interesting of the parts, even though the song was good enough to be the hit it became, because it did very well.
Yeah, it did. Because like even like somebody like a Keith Sweat that couldn't sing, like they still had they could their voices matched the songs that they were trying to sing at least, and with this it just didn't fit. I never felt that it fit that particular song.
I never felt like Wait a Minute fit. That just seemed like, I remember just listening to it going, really?
I just thought that was a bad song, to be honest with you. Like
I didn't think it was that bad. It was just like, I mean, Lionel Richie would have made more sense on that. Like it just didn't fit. Could you
imagine Lionel Richie trying to sing?
I have to imagine Ray J doing it, right? Same thing.
Man.
It would be like Nick Cannon doing it. Like, I don't believe you. Like this is not you. You're a suburban kid. This isn't you. Like any more than I bought it when he did Sexy Can I. I didn't believe that either.
Well, see, the thing with Ray J is he's one of those artists that after he became famous, he started hanging out with street dudes. Like he was an associate of Suge Knight at one point, so he was kind of around,
Was
kind of
he
around.
really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
so he was kind of around Death Row when that whole thing was happening. Because he's raised in L.A. He had had some of those guys in the circle. It happens a lot to a lot of artists, even if they're not from the streets. And for whatever reason, they're so fascinated with that lifestyle that they try to get in with people that are in that lifestyle, and they put them on the payroll or just want to hang out with. And that's kind of what Ray J became.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just every move that he's made just
Mhm.
hasn't been believable. It's like if he would, and it's not like if he worked on his voice, he could do it. The
Yeah.
tools are there. You can,
Right.
I mean, you can listen to it. All the parts are there.
Yeah.
He just needs to build up. This is going to sound cheesy, but I work with singers. He needs to build up diaphragmatic support badly.
Hmm.
He needs strength and muscle in his voice, and he could stand to work on his range a little bit too because it's pretty limited. I remember he did this duet. You remember the off the Phil Collins tribute project when they did that
Hmm.
cover of Another Day in Paradise
Yeah.
with I think it was Soul Shock that produced it, Soul Shock and Carlin.
Wasn't that him and Brandy?
Yeah,
That
that's
wrong?
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah. Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
It was him and Brandy together, and it was just she sounded better than he did, of
Yeah.
course, and she ate him. He didn't sound terrible though, and it's like I'm listening to this, and it's like the potential is it's this the potential was there.
Hmm.
Just and you have a deeper voice now because you're older. Grow into the voice, like work on it a little bit. I think it's there. I always thought so. He just doesn't put the work in.
Yeah.
And as a result, you get what we got during Verzuz. You get out of tune runs and bad phrasing. And it
Yeah.
wasn't good.
He hasn't released an album in a long time, so I could imagine he's probably not singing that much these days.
He must not be. I don't know what that was. And Pleasure P actually sounded pretty good. It's just that the material that he has doesn't demand much of him. I'd be
Right.
very interested to hear what would happen. Please forgive me if he were confronted with a more substantial song. Like, what would that sound like? And I'm no expert on Pleasure P. I haven't
Yeah.
heard everything, but I'd be very interested to hear like what would happen if he were confronted with like a like some kind of a ballad or something like that, where he was
Yeah.
more vocally naked. Like, I wonder what that might sound like because his tone is nice.
Yeah.
It's just his material seems a bit unchallenging from a vocal standpoint because he seems more about like vibe than about really technically singing. So I wonder what's actually in there.
Yeah.
But there might be something in there. But okay, so that opening act went on and on and on and on and on and on and on until the break of dawn. It just went on forever. It was over 2 hours. E-Ray was the host, and he couldn't bring it to a close because they were pharmaceutically enhanced. He
Yeah.
couldn't get control of it. So finally, after a couple of hours, it ends. We're then treated to, I think it was like a half an hour of D-Ray just riffing, which I was in and out of because it just didn't interest me. Sorry, D-Ray. He wasn't given any kind of a pattern to follow, so he didn't know what to do with it, and it was kind of a mess. But whatever. So he is legitimately funny. That just didn't work. But
Yeah.
so anyway, then eventually, many
And
years after,
Mario kind of punked him too last night.
yeah, we'll get there. We're gonna get there. Okay, so because I think I know what was happening here. But anyway, so now we finally get Omarion and Mario on the stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But before they can get on the stage, did you see who else we got?
Who? I think I might have missed that part. Who else did we get?
Orion.
Oh, you know what? Okay, so you told me I didn't catch his part. And
Why?
The only thing I can think of the only song that I can think of that he did was "Take It Slow."
That's more than I can think of.
That was back in like 2004, and that just kind of came and went.
Ago. Yes.
Yeah, it kind of came and went. Even like, so you would think, okay, so you had Marcus Houston, obviously Immature and IMX and all this stuff, and Omarion did really good with B2K, and then his first solo project. Orion really didn't do that much. So I don't know why he brought him on stage instead of Marcus Houston. If you're going to bring your brother on stage, bring Marcus Houston on stage at least.
But it's like, why is Orion there? Like,
it just felt weird because I felt like Omarion he
didn't do anything.
But he brought out the cavalry, and it just
Well, no,
fell flat.
we can't. We don't want to get to that yet. Hold on.
Okay, all right.
We're gonna get there. I'm trying to keep it linear,
because I'm not even gonna lie. Like I watched it, but I didn't watch it for the music. I just watched it to hear Mario just go completely in on him. That's really what distracted me from the whole thing. It was Mario just kind of. It was a roast session.
Well, okay, so it was. So okay, so how do I phrase this? So okay, so how many of, let me ask you this, because I'm going to try to get there in the most expedient way possible. So how many of these versus contests have you seen?
So I saw Earth, Wind & Fire versus Isley Brother. I watched that whole thing. That was amazing. Yeah, I watched a little bit of music in Anthony Hamilton.
Oh man, I want to see that.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch that one. That was on Valentine's Day. I saw Both Thugs and Harmony and 3 6 Mafia. That one got really trippy. That one got really trippy. I saw Deep Set versus Locks, Jadakiss, and Styles P. That one was kind of, you know what? This was the R&B equivalent of the LOX Deep Set battle, where Jadakiss just completely roasted Deep Set. Cameron and all them completely just destroyed him single-handedly by himself. You know, I saw Teddy Riley versus Babyface. I kind of wish they would do that one over again.
Because it was a technical disaster. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were behind a computer. Same thing with Erykah Badu and Jill Scott. That one needs to be live next time if they ever decide to do that again.
Really, they all should have been. Like every one of them.
I think that was during COVID though, or like the peak of COVID, so they couldn't do that. But they should really go back and do. Yeah, but Jill Scott and Erykah Badu, if anything needs to go in front of a crowd, it needs to be that one. Badu and Jill Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else did I see?
You saw Patti LaBelle and Gladys Knight, yeah?
You know what? I didn't. I caught some of it. I heard
that one. I saw. I had fun with that. It was ridiculous.
I heard Chaka Khan didn't do so well. I heard she was kind of plastered that night. At least that's what I'm hearing.
She does have a history, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think I completely skipped Ashanti and Keisha Cole, so I didn't see that one at all. What else?
With who?
Keisha Cole versus Ashanti.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I
Sade. I was like, what?
No. I skipped that one. What was the other one? I saw Snoop Dogg and DMX. I love that one. That was amazing. That was really good.
So okay, so you've seen like it's fair to say you've seen a fair amount of these, right?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. It's a great concept. Swiss Beats and I forgot who else came up with the idea. Timbaland, I think.
Timbaland.
Yeah, that was, to me, that's just such a great idea, like concept. Yeah, and the way they select the artists, like I don't agree with all the matchups. Like I feel like Snoop and DMX wasn't really the best matchup, even though they both have a bunch of hits.
It wasn't.
To me, it was just a weird matchup. But for the most part, they get it right though. They take two artists or two groups that were popular at the same time with, you know, kind of the same amount of hits, and they put them together. And it's a great concept. Like I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I like, for me, like Kumbaya is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it is, and it's nice to see that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to do a versus competition, I want to see one against the other. That's really what I want. Go ahead and trash talk each other. I want that. I want you to go at each other. And frankly, like from the very beginning, I could tell that wasn't real. Okay, versus this was performance art. Like that part of it, I didn't believe for 2 seconds that they disliked each other.
Yeah, because I didn't think so either. That's why I was kind of
dislike each other. The way they both came off with each other at the end, you could tell that it was just they were just having fun with it.
Yeah,
it wasn't all that serious.
Because I think they've toured together, haven't they? I'm pretty sure they've toured together.
I think they have.
Yeah.
But it wasn't all that. Like the very beginning and the very end of it were, especially the very end of it, was very nice.
Yeah.
It just, but they came to play.
Yeah.
Like they came to go at each other. Like that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so, cursing notwithstanding, I kind of thought that was fun. Honestly, Mario was a riot.
Oh man, I never knew he was I never knew he had that type of personality. I didn't.
Right? Really, I had no clue.
Yeah.
It was legit funny. Like
he played his role talking about, oh, you act like you're unbothered. He's all, you're very bothered. Like the whole thing was great. It
Oh
was.
yeah. I mean, if it would have been serious, I mean, it's just it was so funny though. And I mean, it's like, so like I'll oh so Omarion drags out Orion. He drags out a watermelon. He drags out
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
well, like why?
He
It
was
just
doing he was doing that watermelon challenge prior to that Verzuz too.
oh, it was just sad. And but it gets worse. He drags out the crew from You Got Served. Like, yes. Yes, that
That's such a
of
bad
course
movie. I
all
never
of this was and we can't forget. Well, no, we'll get to it in a second.
even Tank couldn't save him.
And he drags out Tank. Tank, who can sing his face off. Thank you very much.
Even he couldn't
But
save him.
Mario's better than he is. Yes, I said it. I meant it. He's better. And then he makes the most fatal mistake that you can possibly make. He brings out a guy who can't sing at all. He brought out Jeremiah. I just like you are, like I know he suffered badly with COVID. He was in ICU and everything. There was questions about whether or not he was going to get through it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he got through it as a human being. Really, I am. But he can't sing. There's just nothing there.
Jeremiah's a guy. If you put him on a hook with like a rapper, he's decent. He's solid. But I've never felt that he can carry an album by himself.
He can't sing. It's all his voice is very soft. His intonation is poor. He has no range. He's operating within about 5 or 6 notes. There's no power. It ain't there.
Remember, I'm a Rock Star. You remember that? It's the music. It's the music video for me that gets me every single time.
It's just the record label went for the pretty face that would get the ladies, and they didn't bother to find out whether or not he could sing.
But he's done really well for himself. Really well for himself.
Really?
Yeah, he's been relevant. I mean, he was relevant for a good. That album sold well. There was he was a Birthday Sex. That was him all over radio. His music has been all over radio from like 2009 to about 2015. He's been all over radio.
Yeah, but it's been a long time. It's been a hot minute since.
Well, no, I take that back. He did a song with I think Ty Dolla $ign. It was a few years ago that came out. That was pretty big.
Yeah, but at that point, Ty Dolla $ign couldn't lose.
I'm a big fan of his.
A big fan of Jeremiah?
No, Ty Dolla $ign.
Oh, I was about to say, wait a minute.
Yeah, no,
Don't even know anymore. Like, and I'm sure he's a nice guy. It's not that. It's just I'm only judging singing or lack thereof.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably some of what happened with him was probably hearing, because the sound was not perfect. There were monitor problems.
They were so off key.
But and I think because it was so off key, I think some of it had to do with the wedges and the monitor wedges on the floor.
Yeah.
Because Mario seemed to want it louder than Omarion did. And I think they were trying to, I'm a sound engineer. I'm very sensitive to these things. I can give you a pass on some of it, but I think they were trying to figure out how to satisfy both of them. And they never really quite did it.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing because of how far off it really was, that Jeremiah might not have been able to hear very well. That doesn't excuse the fade tone, and it doesn't excuse the bad intonation or anything like that, or the badly executed runs that didn't even fit in the key he thought he was hearing. But yeah, it was unpretty. It wasn't good. And then I very much felt like Omarion's song selection was poor.
Yeah, and it's weird because he actually has a few cuts out there that are really good.
He did them. They were in there along with a bunch of other stuff that nobody.
But it's about timing too. When you select your cuts or when you decide to sing your songs. And that's where I think he kind of where he really went wrong. Aside from other things, obviously trying to bring in the cavalry,
and not singing well.
Yeah,
he at no point did he sound good. There are two singers that are on Twitter and we follow each other. One of them is Gabe Kunda, who's in a group called Oh No. Oh, I hate that my brain is freaking out. King's Return. It's an a
Okay.
cappella group. He's a bass singer. Forgive me, Gabe. He's an excellent singer. In fact, they just came out with a cover of "How Deep Is Your Love," and it's the
You're good.
chokehold it has on. I'll put the link in the description so you guys can go check it out because you should. But I follow him, and we follow each other. And then there's another guy named Nicholas Ryan Gant, who's an absolutely incredible singer. He's in New York. And the dialogue going on between us on Twitter that night was just award-winning. And I remember Gabe goes, "Dear Omarion, pitch is not a suggestion." Signed, everyone. He was just so far off all night long. Like it was really the difference between a studio singer and a real singer.
Yeah.
It was an absolute murking of the highest order from the very beginning. Within 5 minutes, there was no question about who was going to come away with that. Like, it was just bad. And I think he knew it, and that's why he dragged out the cavalry to try to make things more entertaining. And I mean,
but no matter what, when you do that, when you have to drag out a bunch of people on stage, especially when your opponent isn't, you automatically lose. From that point on, it's like, why do you need all these features? You
is
know,
it any wonder?
Well, yeah.
When he started singing, you knew. Like, he just didn't, it just wasn't in there. He's just not, they're on two completely different levels.
Yeah.
Like, and levels apart from each other in terms of capabilities. And I mean, you have to love that, like, when Mario did Braid My Hair, Omarion sang backgrounds for it. He just gave up and started singing backgrounds on it.
Yeah.
It's like, this is surrender. This is what surrender looks like, children. Like, he just he just completely gave up. And in terms of bringing people out, the only people that Mario brought out were fake B2K members just to have a little fun with Omarion. He did that at the beginning, and at first it took me a second because they were dimensionally like right, and the wardrobe was dead on, and they came out, and I went, "Wait a minute, no, no, like, you have no chill, and I'm loving this." Like, man, you could feel the direction it was going, and when he did that, I was on the floor. This is the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, you're really doing this, aren't you? And from that moment on, like, it was just a night of, like, Mario knocking Omarion off balance for all it was worth. I'm still crying with laughter over it. It's so funny.
Hey, Mario's trash talk, man, is pretty legendary after last night.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I remember when he was finished with one of the songs, he goes, "You a dancing little somebody, aren't you?" Like, he didn't say somebody. You know what he said.
Oh, I know what he said. Yeah, I know what he said. Yeah, man. Mario just ate him alive verbally. Just ate him alive. Like, oh, he wasn't ready. He was not ready.
You couldn't, but here's the thing, though. Like, he couldn't be. That in truth, and this is going to sound like I'm gassing him up, but I'm just telling you the truth as I see it. Like, there are very few vocalists who are on Mario's level. I'll be real with you. Like, I wasn't a huge Mario fan going in, but I am now, because I heard an absolutely incredible voice with great, I know I keep saying the same terms over and over again, so I'll spare you, but just a great voice, and you know what that means. Like, obviously you heard tremendous range, you saw tremendous ego, but he could back all of it up. Like, yeah,
but it's so crazy too with Mario, because I feel like some of his later singles, like Mars or Drowning, are probably better than some of his earlier stuff. But unfortunately, he's not really, like, he's not really relevant in the sense of, he's not getting radio play no more or anything like that. Like, I mean, that really hasn't been a thing for him since, like, since what, 2008, 2009. I think Breakup was his last big hit, and that was
Go, I think, yeah.
Yeah, that was what, like 12 years ago. Speaking of Go, that's probably my favorite. That's probably my favorite Mario album, or it's right up there. Go to me was that was the album that really made me a fan. Like, I remember You Should Let Me Love You, and that's what kind of got my attention.
Yes.
Because I didn't really care for Just a Friend. Cause I'm just like, who sampled who remakes a Bismarcky song and turns it into a I just thought that was kind of weird. I
Well, the real
really
kicker is that song was intended for Usher.
I think he probably would have made it work better at that particular point.
No, but he cut it and he doesn't. It's
he
just
what?
not good. It's not a good.
Oh,
idea.
Usher did.
Yeah, he did a cut of it. I'll share it with you.
Huh? When was this? 2002.
It was supposed to be on the All About You record, the one we never got.
Oh,
before
okay.
He went to 8701.
Yeah.
He cut it, and it's not good. It's just pop nonsense. It's not good. It was a mistake either way, but it was a hit for Mario because it was young sounding. That's what made it work.
Yeah, that very true. It did what it was supposed to do. I thought Braid My Hair was really corny. I just thought that was corny, and I kind of and I'll be honest with you, I kind of wrote Mario off. I was like, oh, he'll probably disappear or whatever.
I did too.
I didn't really think he was gonna have like any sustainable power. And then I heard him on "You Should Let Me Love You," and I was like, okay, like that's a really good use of a Tina Turner song. Really good, sampling. And I was like, okay, that's really good.
Yeah, I heard that said just maybe like a day ago.
What's that?
That it was kind of reminiscent of What's Love Got to Do with It.
You didn't think it was?
I didn't notice.
I really?
Didn't catch it.
A sound engineer didn't notice that? Wow.
I missed it.
Wow.
It's kind of, it is that, but it's twisted. It's not quite that.
It isn't, but I'm surprised you didn't. I'm surprised you didn't catch that, because even I caught that. Even I caught that one. Like as soon as I heard the song, the first time I heard the song, I was like, that's pretty good. Wow, that's amazing.
I did not. What can I say?
Yeah.
I should never be on a case involving plagiarism, apparently, because I'm just not going to catch it. But no, I didn't even know it. I did not even know. What's really funny about that song is that Neo came back later and he's like, I should have recorded that. I'm like, no, you shouldn't have. It was exactly where it should have been. He's better than stop it.
Yeah. I like Neo too a lot,
I do too. He's not terrible at all. It's just that Mario's better than he is.
Yeah. And you know what else? I thought his follow-up single, How Could You? I thought that was pretty good too.
The bridge. Can we talk about that bridge? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not singing, but the bridge in it. Like, it's just with those DeBarge chords in it. Like, yeah.
Well, what I was impressed with,
that's the bridge of that year, easily.
And that was kind of where you started to see the growth in his lyrics, because he's at that point he was only 18, 19 years old.
Well, but that was Jay Holiday that wrote those lyrics.
Yeah.
Jay Holiday and Eric Dawkins. Yeah.
But I thought it was a perfect fit for him, because he was not
Shout out
Dawkins. Oh yeah, Dawkins and Dawkins
did it. You can tell.
Yeah. But
go ahead. I'm sorry.
But yeah, he was 19 or 20. He's experiencing. He's probably experiencing his first heartbreak. Thinking to himself, "Hey, I'm going to marry you one day." Because when you're 19, 20, and you meet your first girlfriend, you're thinking this is the one. This happens a lot. Happened to me. I've seen it happen to my friends, and so
we've all been through it.
Yeah, and so I thought that song fit him so perfectly. And I'm just like, man, that's such a good song. Like
it was totally believable, but to me, like, it didn't feel like a first anything. I mean, this felt like, and this is one of the things that makes him so good. Like, it felt lived in. Like, it felt he had lived. I mean, by the time he gets to that absolutely amazing bridge, it felt lived in. It didn't just feel like he was singing about one thing or like one experience that he'd had. It felt like he was almost singing, like he was singing about something specific, but it felt like he'd been through it even before that.
Yeah.
Which is a lot about his ability to interpret a lyric.
And he performed that at the Apollo. That's where I first heard the song, actually. And that's when I went out and bought the album, when I heard that. Because I remember when the album came out, I never bought the album until I heard that single. And I was like, oh, wow, like, that's a pretty good song. I might go check this out.
It's a great song and very difficult to sing. Like, by the time he's, I can't help but think that another man, like, he's up there, like really up there and singing hard. And I mean, that's not an easy song to sing.
And he's talking about like,
he nailed that song. That was Let Me Love You was supposed to be his growing up moment, but it was actually How Could You that was. Yeah. Like, that one made us all go, what?
Yeah, and then Go, which is such a great follow-up to that. How could you?
I'll be honest with you. After Turning Point, I lost track just because there was so much else musically going on. So
Yeah.
I will freely admit I need to catch up on.
You never heard of How Do I Breathe?
I
How
think he
do
did it.
I?
I think he did it during Verzuz.
Yeah, how do I breathe? That's a really
Yeah,
good song.
He did that during. Yeah, he
Man,
did.
that's such a really
He
good
did
song.
Crying Out, which I hadn't heard before, which I really like.
You never heard that before?
I just hadn't heard it. No, it just missed me.
That was all over radio.
I didn't. It wasn't here. I didn't catch it.
But he's from your area though.
He's from Baltimore. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't. Maybe I just missed it somehow. I don't know.
I think you just missed it because that album got a lot of radio play.
It's such a good song. I mean, I heard it and I'm like, why have I not heard this before? Like,
Yeah.
So like, I'm kind of and I was telling you this like over DM, like I'm at this place now where I need to just invest in like everything. Like, I mean, I left that Verzuz a raging Mario fan. Like,
did he? And I don't recall him singing this, but did he sing "Music for Love" last night or the
yes,
day?
He did.
That was really good too.
Another one that was like I need that too. Like,
yeah, man,
he kept pulling stuff out, and it's interesting too because it's like, of the two of us, obviously, I'm the most behind when it comes to Mario, and still I was most entertained by him, even though I didn't know some of the songs. He was still making good choices. And from Omarion, we got stuff like Speed. Like,
Speed was corny because you heard the race car because you have race cars in the background. I didn't like that one. I never liked that song.
Just stop it. Like, stop it. It was everything that he could not have done anything more incorrectly than he did. All of the wrong choices one could make, he made every one of them. Because
you always want to start off with one of your bigger hits to kind of set the tone.
Yeah.
And then maybe you can kind of experiment with a couple of the songs that might not be as known and like your fourth or fifth, song or whatever. But you also want to
has stuff too. Like,
like
to
Icebox
about it. I know we've been bagging on Omarion like crazy, but he has Icebox, which is great. Yeah. Thank you, Clutch.
Yeah.
Clutch all day long. He has Entourage, which I deeply love.
Yeah.
He has obviously Why I Love You with B2K, which I also love. Call Me Corny If You Must, but I love that song.
You know what song I like from B2K?
Even though he holds it down for She Easy, I still
you know what song you should open with from B2K? Not How Could You, but
Gots to Be.
Yeah, man. That's a good song.
He threw that in there, I think.
He should open with it.
But and to be honest with you, like, because I've heard people make the argument on social media that he should have let B2K songs alone. Why should he? He sang them all.
Yeah, they're pretty much his songs.
And not only was he doing the lead vocals, to be clear, and this is a typical practice with vocal groups and producers, he was also doing the background vocals. Like, it was him anyway.
Yeah.
And he even said as much. He's like, why are you, somebody hassled him about it, trolled him, was like, why are you doing B2K songs? He's like, because I am B2K. It's true. He was B2K in the studio.
Yeah, because I remember when Omarion left the group, and I think the other three members were on 106 and Park back in the day with AJ and Free. Man. They looked dead. I mean, they were trying to hold it together, but they knew it was over. I cannot believe you missed Mario though, man. Like, he's in your backyard, literally in your backyard.
I know. I have no excuse. Well, no, I mean, my only excuse is that I was just listening to other things. Other things, and RCA wasn't pushing him.
But that third album did. But it was like, How Could I Breathe was all over radio though. It was like all over radio.
I can't remember if I wasn't listening to the radio back then at all. But
you know what? Okay, so I had satellite radio at this point, but it was still getting played on there too. Like, it was like I heard it everywhere.
I don't know why I missed. I don't know how I missed it, but I
did. Such a good album. Such a good album. And then he did I think his fourth album, Breakup. So catchy. Just that beat, and yeah. That's like one of my sister's favorite songs. My sister Ashley, she loves that song.
See, apparently I need to go to school. And I will. I'm sorry, Mario. I will be going to school on your stuff.
Yeah. You know who Mario's always reminded me of? I think I told you this before. Like, his voice, I don't know, I could be off, maybe you'll disagree, but it kind of reminded me of Tevin Campbell. I don't know why, but he kind of reminded me of him.
Yeah, similar tone. I hear it. Yeah.
Do you?
Similar tone. Yeah. And arguably similar range, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear. I mean, Mario's more has a more muscular voice, but
Yeah, yeah.
see, okay. So let me ask this question because I was
All
holding
right,
on to this one.
all right.
So obviously, within 5 minutes, we knew that Mario and Omarion was a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
So
But it made sense on paper though, because like I said, they came out around the same. B2K and Mario
right,
dropped their albums the same year. You can make a case that they have the same amount of hits or kind of similar. So it made sense
yeah,
on paper. And then when you consider the fan base at the time, it made a lot of sense. I mean, I probably would have done that too if I was a matchmaker. I'd been like, oh yeah, this put them two together. Let's do it.
no, no, I get it, I get it.
Yeah.
But okay, but now having watched it, right,
Hmm.
we know it didn't work.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna think vocally here for a second.
Hmm.
So let's take Omarion first. If you had to match him up with someone to do verses, knowing what we know now, knowing probably what we should have known then,
Hmm.
who would you pick to go up against him? Who would be a fairer?
The only person I can think of off the top of my head would be Pleasure P. Pretty Ricky versus B2K. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. Because like I said, Omarion is not really a good singer. But he was a good enough entertainer to get by. But like you can't match him up against Chris Brown or Trey Songz because they'd eat him alive. You couldn't,
You
huh?
think Trey Songz would eat him alive?
Yeah, he's got way too many. He's got more hits than Omarion. I mean, I've never liked his voice. I've never been a big fan of his voice, but he's got a lot more hits than Omarion.
See, I'm just thinking vocally. Just,
Oh, vocally,
you know what I'm saying? Just vocally.
probably Pleasure P then.
Okay.
Yeah,
Pleasure P. Okay. Because
or
I was
or Jeremiah. Like pretty much the people that were there. The only people you
Jeremiah. No.
can,
No, Jeremiah's off the table everlastingly.
yeah,
Um, yeah, no, that would be a bloodletting the other way.
yeah.
Because I was, to me, like vocally speaking, I was thinking of Trey Songz. That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Because I think vocally that would be a more decent match. One is no worse than the other, but for different reasons.
You know what's bothered me about Trey Songz? I don't even think he's a bad singer. Maybe
I
it's
don't think
just
so
me.
either. I don't
I
think
just
Omarion's a bad singer. It
Here's my
just,
thing with Trey Songz, and a comedian put this so perfectly because I have been thinking the same thing for such a long time. He kind of sounds like a goat when he sings. Like there's certain, like his voice goes. It kind of, I don't know. It does like a ba sound, like a ba. I don't know what it is, but that's always bothered me about his voice. Am I the only one that's hearing this?
it does. No, you're not wrong.
Like I'm just like, well, why? Like I don't know. Like
It's the way his vibrato is. Yeah, it's that quick
yeah.
vibrato. Bad.
Oh
Oh,
man.
that's terrible. It's true though. I hear what you mean.
Like I don't. I'm like that man. Like all right.
Okay, so we've picked one for Omarion. Who would you pick to go against Mario? That's harder. Although I know I've got one in mind, but you first.
I would say Tevin Campbell,
Fair.
or
That's not what I
maybe
was thinking of, but fair.
or maybe Usher. Actually, if we're just talking,
That's what I was thinking
yeah,
of.
if we're talking just voices, obviously the
Yes,
hits,
just
yeah,
voice.
yeah, yeah. Usher and Mario would have very comparable voices.
Yes.
Yeah,
Not necessarily similar ranges, but definitely similar tone,
yeah.
similar power.
And Usher's another underrated singer. Um,
Yes.
like he can if he's not underrated, but his voice is underrated in the sense that we see him dancing and we love the songs that he makes, but we don't really give his voice enough credit for making those songs come alive per
Yeah.
se.
He's an
Because
underrated singer. I'll let you have that. I agree with you.
and maybe it's the record studios, but they don't really push a lot of his ballads that he has up that he does do. They don't really push those the same way they push his up tempo stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, they want to get him dancing. I remember he did this cover of it was on Disney Mania of all things. He did the cover of Phil Collins' "You'll Be in My Heart."
mm,
My gosh.
pretty good.
destroyed it. Like, why listen to Phil Collins at that point? Like, that's the only way to listen to that song now, is his version of it. It's just it's perfect. So you're right. I mean, when you say that he's underrated, I couldn't agree more. He's a legitimately underrated singer.
Yeah.
And in an environment like that, he would I think he'd wake up a lot of people to what he's really capable of vocally.
Yeah.
So
I'd actually like to see him do an album that's kind of more vocally focused, you know.
The Verzuz itself was an open and shut case very quickly.
Yeah.
Most of the fun was watching Twitter go by while the show was happening.
Oh, Twitter was on fire. Yeah, Twitter. Yeah,
Twitter was legendary that night.
I always keep Twitter open during these verses. Always.
Just like follow the hashtag. It just oh, the conversations. Just there's just a couple of posts that just went by. I was like, watermelon. He's holding a watermelon. Like,
I was like, what are you doing?
Oh, it was just, it was I won't drag this on any longer, but it was very much an open and shut case. Nobody anywhere thinks that Omarion took that, because he didn't.
Yeah.
Omarion showed up and showed out. It was great performance art. I love the fact that they were at each other's throats the entire night. That was really fun too, because that's what Verzuz should be, darn it.
And you know what? And they both seem like cool people. They seem like the type of people, I'd love to go have a beer with them or something. They seem pretty cool, down to earth people.
And they seemed fine with each other when it was over with. They were just, it was a show. Don't be so sensitive.
Because you know what? I think
having fun.
So my sister went to a concert. It was Drake and Lil Wayne back in like 2014 or 2015. She was 18 at the time, and she said that they half of the concert, Drake and Lil Wayne were like going at each other's throats. Like they were like, there was like a part of the concert where they were like singing their own particular music, and they were kind of like dissing each other. But it was part of the show, obviously, you know. But they're kind of going back and forth with each other. And my sister Amber was like, man, like we loved it. We thought it was great. You know, just kind of them going back and forth with each other.
Yeah, it's just this is entertainment. It's the show business. Like, if it's gonna be Verzuz, you know, I don't need to see blood and guts or anything like that. But show me a little going back and forth with it. Show me some trash talk. It was without the cursing. It was fun.
If you want to see some blood and guts, go watch Bone Thugs and Harmony versus 3 6 Mafia. That one got chippy. That one got real chippy, like quick. Like like they were about to fight. Like people had to go up on the stage and separate the two groups.
See, that's a bit far, but seeing it the way that Omarion and Mario did it, like that was about right. Like, anytime Omarion would finish doing something, Mario would go, that happened, didn't it? And then he would just move on to something. when Omarion and Jeremiah were riffing on stage, Mario was like, stop. This is not good. Stop. I was on the floor. And he was right too. Like, it wouldn't have been as funny if he wasn't as right as he was. Like, just stop.
Oh man.
Or the best line of the night, which we already talked about, you were dancing to somebody, ain't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we have worn out that topic. It was fun to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get some things off my chest, and I'm sure you did too. And I know I feel better. Hope you guys do too.
We didn't go off the tracks either. I said we didn't go off the tracks either.
We sort of did, but we pulled it back.
Yeah, we reined it back.
We are who we are, right?
Yeah.
If you've watched us enough.
Yeah.
So okay, so do me a favor before you go. Just do me a solid. Hit like, please, because you did like the video. I saw you. You were nodding along and you were participating. So you did like the video. Don't lie to me. It's impolite. Go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe, because there's going to be more stuff like this, I promise. And darn it, follow the channel and share this with other people, because they want to hear us go on and on too, just like you did. But anyway, this has been Ed, and I'm now babbling. So later.